a lot of people who really wanted to be here today that couldn't attend and asked us to record it. So I hope that's okay for all of you, that we're recording it for the sake of the people who couldn't be here, so we can share it afterwards, so you can share it with your friends. But the floor is yours, Emily.
Yes, great. Let's see if you can see. Can you see my screen? Yes, great.
Yes.
Yes, so I'm Emily Tschirris, and I'm on the board on Wellbeing Economy Alliance Sweden, or WEAll Sweden. And we are an organization that aims to promote an economy that places well-being within the planetary boundaries at the center. And we want economic activity to be seen as a means rather than an end. So how we do that is that we work to highlight different models, ideas, and initiatives, such as the economy for the common good, for shaping a sustainable future economy. And we also work to develop positive visions for the future. And our Swedish association was founded 2 years ago, and we're part of the global WEAll network, which has 19 hubs all over the world. So we currently have around 160 members in Sweden and 530 newsletter subscribers. And we had activities before, such as the Beyond Growth conference here in Sweden. We had different public lectures and hub gatherings and many collaborations. And we have working groups, and one of them is to work to see how businesses could look like in a well-being economy in the future. So we always welcome new members, and people are interested in getting involved in different ways. And you can read more in the link that we will post soon. So, and now I'm going to head over to Jonathan to present a bit about
Okay. Hej allihopa. Hello. I'm just here to say welcome from Färnebo Folkhögskola to this webinar series, because this is the first webinar in a series of 3 webinars that we will host together with a lot of different organizations. The name of this series is, Vägar till en annan ekonomi, which is in English roads to another economy. And I'm just very briefly mentioning the next 2 webinars that will take place before Christmas. The one after this is about community wealth building from Preston to Gothenburg, Bergsjön. Eller på svenska, lokalt gemensamt välståndsbygge från Preston till Göteborg och Bergsjön. And then in 8th of December, we're going to have another webinar about banks together with the association Positiva Pengar, and about the role of banks in the transition to a well-being economy, or another economy as we call it here. And I also should mention that this webinar series came about for a lot of different reasons, but one of the reasons was that we are also hosting at the Folkhögskola a semester-long course called Another Economy is Possible, eller på svenska, En annan ekonomi är möjlig. And this course is taking place this autumn and next autumn. So if you have interest for this course, check it out next autumn. And that was everything I was going to say right now. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I'm super glad to hear this amazing work that you are doing to bring this future economic alternatives on the forefront in Sweden. So actually, I'm going to give the word now to you, Christian Felber, and we're going to start to dive into the economy for common good. And Christian here is our founder, and we actually celebrated 15 years as a movement this year. So that's quite an achievement. So the floor is yours, Christian.
Thank you, Sophie, and good evening, everybody. It's a special pleasure for me to once again introduce the economy for the common good to a Swedish audience. I have traveled to your country in 3 or 4 occasions, and there have been some gatherings around the economy for the common good, which is now 15 years young or old. And still, looking at my personal trajectory, there is a prehistory of that. I was in 2000 a co-founder of the ATTAC movement in Austria, which is a movement not against globalization, but critical with globalization, a little bit in the line of Helena Norberg-Hodge and other movements that want to shape the globalization process differently. There were some Swedish actors involved in our movement. Jakob von Uexküll is one of our ambassadors. And of course, we are referring, like many others, to Stockholm Resilience Center and the planetary boundaries concept, which I will mention briefly, at least in my presentation. Having said, well, maybe a last one, and of course, we became one of the many members of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance when it emerged from 3 different places. That's what I learned from the United States, from Scotland, and from Spain. These 3 threads merged into the today shape of the Alliance, and we're a member of the Alliance, active member, and I'm a personal ambassador of WEAll as well. Having said that, I will start sharing my slides and hope you can see them. Maybe give me a shot. Yes, you can. Okay. Maybe another interesting detail is that I am not an economist by academic formation, because that what was offered as economics at Austrian universities was, for my taste, by far too narrow, and I wanted to study, if at all, holistic economics, something that you can only study at Schumacher College in the United Kingdom. But I did other things. I studied languages, Roman languages, and that's why I came across with the term of the common good, because many people talk about and think about well-being, and even more people talk about sustainability. But looking at the history of language, the most proper term that I have seen so far is the common good, because it's deeply anchored not only in constitutional language and state theory, but it goes back to history, to the beginnings of documentation, and it's a cross-cultural value. It doesn't have the same name in all cultures, but it is present in all cultures. And now comes something very interesting. According to this philosopher, the common good has been for millennia, not for centuries, but for millennia, the overarching goal of economic activities, and at the same time, the limit to economic freedom and free enterprise. And this was normality throughout millennia. And only recently, the bottom line turned into a financial one. And this is something we can consider a new normality, which will end hopefully soon. And we will return to the original bottom line, which is something between the common good, well-being, deep sustainability, and the general welfare. And if we look back to Aristotle, who is mentioned here, then we learn that Aristotle distinguished 2 different understandings of the economy. The first one gives birth to the name economy and economics. And in Aristotle's understanding, the goal of the economy was the well-being of all household members, or let's say, which is the same as the common good. And then he was very clear in saying that money, capital, and material goods are just the means to help achieve the goal. And if this relationship between ends and means flipped around, then we would put the economy on its head and turn it into a Chrematistike, which is something different, which is the art of making money and enrich oneself. Today, we don't have the term Chrematistike, but we have the term capitalism. And according to Aristotle, capitalism is the opposite of economy, looking at the overarching goal. In capitalism, the overarching goal is to increase capital. And looked from that perspective, capitalism is the opposite of economy. And this is now very interesting, because contemporary textbooks, they do not teach this distinction. They only teach us one alternative. And this is not science, because serious science would teach us at least these both possibilities, and maybe more possibilities. but just picking out one cherry and hiding the cake is not serious science. And even worse, what they are talking about, this is not economy. This is one of my book titles. This is not economy. This is schematistike, or this is capitalism science, but it's not economy. And if we take that understanding of the economy, then we will go directly into the Polish crisis. And I think that's the common analysis of all members of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance, that the current capitalistic system with free trade in the globalized version is rather part of the problem than of the solution. And I don't need to talk about the planetary boundaries here. I just mentioned them to show that we share the same analysis amongst the members and the tapas. And this is something that we refer to frequently. We are one of the tapas. Tapas is the answer to TINA. TINA means there is no alternative, which is a very strange saying for a democratic politician that Margaret Thatcher in the early 1980s in Great Britain was assumed to be. But a true Democrat always has alternatives. And this is the answer, tapas. There are plenty of alternatives. And you see a short list here, and the longer list can also be considered the membership list of WEAll. And we are just one of these tapas, and we try to be a holistic alternative. What does this mean? First, it's we don't only offer a theory of change and a complete theoretical model that is built of 20 cornerstones, all relevant phenomena and aspects of the economy. But at the same time, we are a lively movement ourselves with 5,000 activists, including entrepreneurs and bankers and teachers and professors in some 35 countries at the moment. And last but not least important, we are also thinking about the improvement and further development of democracy that we call sovereign democracy. And I hope I will have at least 2 minutes at the end to talk a bit about this democratic process. Because I say this now because University of Gothenburg in Sweden is developing this WEAll classification system consisting of 4 types of states: liberal democracies, electoral autocracies, and closed autocracies. And our contribution is the attempt to add a 5th premium category, which we call sovereign democracy. And maybe we get a taste of it at the end of my introduction. But let's start first with the model. And here again, we try to draw and offer a holistic model, which means that the economy, as has already been mentioned, is not an end in and of itself, but it's a means of its broader and larger contexts, like democratic societies, human cultures with its timeless values, and first and foremost, planetary ecosystems in the biosphere. And if we consider these broader contexts, then the logical consequence of our thinking and approach is that the overarching goal of the economy should be the common good. Nothing new, as we just have seen, but new for all those who learn at school or even at university and business schools that the economy is all about money. It's a different story, a different narrative, and it has no historical legitimation, and it has no democratic legitimation either. That's the next surprise. If we look up contemporary constitutions in democracies, we will not find a single constitution that legitimizes capitalism in the meaning that the constitution states that the overarching goal of economic activity is to accumulate capital. No single constitution says that. Those constitutions that tell us something about the goal of the economy tell us that the goal is the common good in many constitutions. And now comes the crucial conclusion of ours. If constitutions, today's constitutions, in line with Aristotle 2,300 years ago, are clear that the overarching goal of the economy is the common good or should be the common good, then we ought to measure economic success according to this goal, with a common good product for national economies, with a common good balance sheet for businesses, and with a common good exam for every single investment. That would be the correct method of success measurement in a true economy. Today, we're doing something different. We try to measure economic success with GDP, the monetary GDP, with financial profit, and with financial return on investment. And if you look at these metrics of success, then we immediately identify that the unit of measurement is money. And we just clarify that money is the means. And nowhere success is measured alongside the means. It's an incorrect way of success measurement. Success is measured alongside the achievement of the goal. And what we can state is that GDP, profit, and return on investment are the correct forms to measure success in capitalism. But capitalism, as just said, is not legitimized in our constitutions. Our constitutions legitimize a true economy, which by definition is a common good economy. And that's why we should revise and reform our way to measure success in the economy. Even more, as we have heavy and fierce criticism of GDP as early as 1968. And if this member of the Kennedy family said that GDP measures everything except that which makes life worthwhile, our answer is, well, let's measure from now on only that which makes life worthwhile. And maybe you are already familiar with these exercises. If we ask the people, no matter if in Japan, in Uruguay, or in Germany, the answer to the question, what makes life most worthwhile, is extremely similar, if not identical, all over the world, because we're all humans and have the same basic needs. And the economy is first and foremost about the satisfaction of basic needs, but in alignment with democratic values and fundamental rights. And this is how we consider the common good product. It's a combination of satisfied basic needs, timeless cultural values, and strong political and democratic rights. And our proposal how to develop such a common good product is to let the people define the goals in a bottom-up process, in a participatory process, and then ask science to provide the indicators which allow the measurement of the achievement of the goals. And this marriage of bottom-up and top-down process would give a common good product high democratic legitimation on the one hand, and solid scientific base on the other. And once we have such a common good product on the level of the national economy, okay, this is just the exemplification. The indicators are measurable, and then if we aggregate the indicators, we would have, as a result, one single number. And I think this is important to really replace GDP as a success measurement, because if you just have a dashboard of many numbers, this would never replace GDP. But if we aggregate all these partial outcomes to one aggregate number, then probably we will be able to replace GDP. And now coming to the level of business, once we have this common good product on the level of the national economy, we could just ask businesses, what's your contribution to the 15 or 20 or 12 sub-goals of the common good product, however we call it. We can call it also gross national happiness, or happy planet index, or happy people index. That's of secondary importance. More important is how it is composed, who composes it, and how can measure the results. And now comes an important last proposal of ours on the methodology. And the proposal is that we combine the discourse on the level of the economy, which is titled Beyond GDP, with the discourse on the meso level of business, which is called sustainability reporting, with the level on the micro in finance, which we usually refer to as ESG topics. But it's all about the same. So it's always about well-being / the common good life quality. So our proposal is to align the methodology of economic success measurement on all three levels. And then the common good balance sheet for businesses would be just a derivative of the common good product. Today we're not there, and that's why what we have done so far is to develop this tool for businesses based on the green horizontal line, which includes constitutional values. So what you see are not just random values that we like more than others. No, these 5 values, human dignity, solidarity, social justice, environmental sustainability, and democratic transparency and co-determination, are most frequent constitutional values in democracies. And we measure how a company or a different organization lives these values according to all its stakeholders. And on the surface, on the first level of this tool, we translate values into goals, like, for instance, meaningful products and services, or solidary supply chains, or decent and humane working conditions. That's a goal on the first level. On the second level, we differentiate the goal into more focused aspects. Decent working conditions, we differentiate, for instance, into health and security at the workplace, experience and creation of meaning at the workplace, inclusion of disadvantaged persons or groups in the labor market, just for instance. And then all aspects are evaluated. The level of achievement is going from 0, of course, to first steps, to advanced, to experienced, and to role model. And this allows to evaluate/measure the activity of a sustainable or ethical company. Only few sustainability reporting standards offer this evaluation service with an external audit, but I think it's key. Why is it key? Because it allows to correct and to fix the system error of today's market economy. Which is the system error of today's market economy? It consists in the fact that the companies that comply with higher ecological standards and pay better wages and offer more social security and behave generally more responsibly and ethically than other companies, they have higher costs, higher market prices, and a competitive disadvantage in relation to other companies that behave less ethically and less sustainably. They have a competitive advantage. And of course, this is a headstand of the current crematistic economy. And we want to put the economy back on its feet. But for that, we have to make them pay less taxes. These pay more taxes. They get a cheaper loan, they get a more expensive loan, or no loan at all. They get a public procurement contract, they don't. They trade freer, they trade less free until, and these incentives, positive and negative incentives, they're not new. All of them already exist. They just have to be linked consequently with society's highest goals and values. And then we would still have a market economy. So it would not be an exercise of overcoming markets. It would only an exercise of overcoming capitalism. But rather than a capitalistic market economy based on profit maximization, the today's bottom line and counterpetition acting against one another, it would be an ethical market economy based on contributions to the common good and cooperation. And looking at the same phenomenon with this slide, it would be neither capitalism nor socialism. It would be an alternative beyond these historical extremes. And the whole model of the economy for the common good includes many more aspects and elements, such as social limits, which we will see in a second, ethical world trade, ecological human rights, and the vision of money as a public good. But of course, for this we would have to dive deeper. You can do this with the books or in a local chapter, or in the scientific conference, to which I already invite you warmly for June 2026. But in the last 10 minutes, let's take a look at our practitioners and front runners, which are first and foremost companies. Of course, no single stock market company, because the common-good balance sheet is not an appropriate tool for greenwashing, because you can not only achieve 1,000 positive points, but you can also achieve 3,600 negative points. If you hide profits in tax havens, or profit from the violation of human rights in supply chains, or do not register in the lobby register, or if the supervision body decides a bonus of $1 billion for the CEO, then of course you earn a lot of negative points, and this is why no stock market company has done the common-good balance sheet, but 1,400 smaller companies have done so in all branches, maybe except nuclear power and weapon production. And many of them are medium-sized, family-owned, locally anchored businesses with some hidden champions. So usually they're the most known because biggest and most powerful corporations in every country. And then in the second row, there are some hidden champions of medium size, and many of them do the common-good balance sheet. Just one example I will show in a minute is a company that is manufacturing pieces for machinery with 1,000 employees in the utmost south of Germany, and this would be one example of a hidden champion. Of course, we have tons of biofarmers and bakers and brewers, and in the sector of food, and very responsible companies in all directions. Not only healthy and local food they are growing, but they also try to treat their suppliers as humane as possible. For instance, this bakery assembles the supply chain once a year around the round table, and then the baker asks the corn farmers which price they need in order to have a good life. And everybody's listening, habitual customers and employees and those who give the money. And then the corn farmers, they say the price they need. And for the last 25 years, this price has been paid without further negotiation. So we cannot eliminate gravity, but we can eliminate the law of supply and demand that is taught in economics textbooks, which is not a law, which can be changed. And WEAll is another company which is producing fruit juices and which has been inspired by the same principle of humanity. And in 2022, there was a super rich harvest of apples in Germany, and apple prices plummeted into the cellar. And some of the apple farmers, they were almost bankrupt. But WEAll said, we are interested in long-term, high-quality relationships. We pay the same price as last year. And in 2023, there was an extremely poor harvest, and the apple farmers, they could auction the apples. But the suppliers of WEAll didn't. They said, last year, you treated us well. This year, we want to treat you well, and we give you the apples for the same price as last year. There's a brewer that once tries to source all supply goods within an area of 100 kilometers. Some have cut down the flight budget to zero and want to become carbon neutral in 2028. This is an outdoor company, and the CEO, Antje von Davids, is one of our spokespersons, but also an ambassador in political assemblies. This is the hidden champion company with 1,000 employees in the south of Germany, trying to eliminate fossil fuels as a component of the tools they sell. And this is the first time after 13 years that a company was publicly honored by the Minister of Economy in one of the states of Germany, and they are called wood manufacturer, and they deny to be involved in building new houses. They only get involved in the reform of existing houses. And just to show you where this is already reaching out to, the most remote company that has been audited is in Uruguay, and it is a laboratory that is measuring environmental data. Very meaningful example. The capital of Uruguay, Montevideo, had a cut of drinking water supply for the first time in its history in 2023. And the reason were two crossed planetary boundaries. One, less green water, so there was less water in the river. And second, the over-fertilizing of the farmland, which led to nutrients that went into the river, and there were then plants growing in the river, and they produced toxins. And so the water was there, but it was toxic and it could not be used for 3 months. And this is the company that is measuring this environmental data. So everybody is connected with everything. Okay, second last thought. We have developed the Common Good balance sheet for businesses, but also municipalities and universities. I think it's the only sustainability reporting tool. This is used across all sections of society, because the approach that is oriented according to values applies for any type of organization. And furthermore, we try to offer every existing actor in society a practical tool that can be applied with a doable effort. One is the business canvas for startups, for CBERS only, of course, but we try to collaborate with impact hubs and incubators. In Austria, we have developed a first Common Good current account even for traditional banks. So you don't have to be a fully ethical bank to start becoming a sustainable finance actor with a current good, with a Common Good current account. And municipalities, we have some 50 at the moment that are doing the balance sheet for the municipality, but they are also starting to develop a Common Good index for the region with the involvement of the citizens. So far, we have developed 3 in Spain, Germany, and Austria, but these are considered from our side as the experiments and the predecessors of the Common Good product for the first country later. That's what Catherine Trebek, together with Fioramonti from Italy, tried to convince the first government to replace GDP by a system of success measurement that is detaching from the financial bottom line. And we try to make this process bottom up, starting with cities and regions. Yes, and there has been a lot of activities in schools and universities. There are already some courses at universities. There was a first study in Austria and a university chair, Economy for the Common Good. And this is a course actually on the tapas in Argentina, inspired by the Economy for the Common Good. And I think it was also in collaboration with WEAll. And the tapas are taught all together there. That was at the University of Cordoba in Argentina. And this is one more specific example that human resource management science is shifting from green HRM to Common Good HRM, which is one step deeper. This is happening at Vienna University of Economics and Business. And this is a special breakthrough, because Mariana Mazzucato can be considered as one of the economists who has international reputation, and she's picking up the Common Good economics discourse and also referring to our model and movement, which is very promising. And this is the conference to which I want to invite you already today, our 4th scientific conference in June 2026 in the south of Germany. Okay, so I have now talked 30 minutes, but I close with one last flashlight on the social boundaries, because on the one hand, there is some political support, and we know how difficult the current situation is in political terms. That's why we think also of a stronger democracy that we call sovereign democracy. That would be the fifth and preeminent category of the we-them classification system. And in this democracy, the sovereign instance, which is the people, the highest instance, they would have more democratic rights than usually people enjoy in the best developed democracies, which we call liberal democracies. And they could initiate change with a democratic right. And one of the possibilities to initiate change would be the initiative to limit inequality in the most important levels and aspects, from income inequality to an upper limit for private wealth to a limit to the total assets of banks. This could happen in citizens' assembly that has a mandate from the constitution and could be initiated by the citizens themselves. And what I have done in more than 30 countries so far is to ask the people where they would limit income inequality between the maximum income and the legal minimum income. And very interestingly, in actually all countries, the people make diverse proposals where inequality could be limited. But then the winning proposal, that is the one that meets the lowest level of resistance, is around factor 10 all over the world, without exception. And this is a very strong example how big the change would be if we had a better democracy, because if we compare factor 10 as the maximum degree of income inequality with the state of the art of today, you see that it would make a huge difference if we had that level of stronger democracy that we call sovereign democracy. Okay, thanks for having allowed me to share this last thought. Of course, you're more than welcome to join the movement, both WEAll and the Economy for the Common Good. We are joining forces in order to change the economy. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Christian. That was a lot of information in a very short period of time, I have to say, but you did it very well. We included the link to the conference that Christian mentioned. It's in the chat, so you can directly go to the website of the conference. In ECOnGOOD newsletter, we will also share the link when the tickets are launched, so you can, through our newsletter, also get some updates. And I know, Christian, you also mentioned the word zebra, and I thought maybe this needs some explanation. I think it's related to, everyone here might have heard about a unicorn, right? So Christian, maybe you can say, what is a zebra business?
Yeah, looking at startups, there is the differentiation between those startups that follow the financial bottom line first and foremost, and these are called unicorns. And then there are the common good oriented or the well-being startups, and they are called zebras.
So you're more than welcome to use that concept. Are there any? We'll have some questions after Pernilla's presentation. But is there anything any one of you feel like that you need clarification on? I know there was a lot of things that we might want to discuss, but I think we can move that towards the end. But if there's anything that someone felt was a little bit uncertain, yeah, Hannah, please ask your question.
Yes, not uncertain, but I wonder if you could just share the last screen picture 1 minute or something, so you could take the photo of it, because I took some photos of the shared material, so I can relate to it later when I have more time.
I do, but of course I share my slides, so you can have
Thank you. This one, yes, because there you have the home pages. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can.
And thank you for an interesting and great presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Hannah. Well, we want to have a lot of time for questions in the end, so I'm just going to give the word to Svetlana quickly, because Christian mentioned he's been in Sweden before, and I thought that Svetlana, you have some historical remarks on that. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you so much, Sophie, and many thanks, Christian, for being here today and presenting for everyone. So it sounds like I'm this prehistoric person here, and it actually is true. So when Christian was invited to Sweden a few times, about 10 years ago, there was a Swedish organization for economy for the common good started in Sweden, and it was or it still is a registered free ideell förening, so the organization for like non-profits and non-governmental organization. And we have been active there were a few people engaged, and we arranged 2 consultant trainings, and some people had become certified consultants, and there were 2 or 3 companies that have been certified according to economy for the common good in Sweden. And one of those amazing companies will present. We'll hear from Pernilla just in a second. What we did not manage to do those years ago was to engage more people. We tried to organize workshops and seminars, and even organize the workshop for municipalities, for example, because there's a fantastic framework for municipalities within the ESG network. But we failed in engaging more people and failed in engaging more consultants. And then the pandemic started, and then kind of things have just kind of went out of hand, and we all got engaged with our own jobs. So we still have a website. So this is what has been maintained through the years. I'll share it in the chat, where you will have access to free translated materials into Swedish. So we have the latest iteration of the Common Good Matrix is not translated, but it's the version 5.0 that has been translated, the whole workbook. So there is information that is ready to be used in Swedish, and we'll be very happy to get more people engaged and to kind of get this process going again in Sweden. Thank you so much, Sophie.
Thank you, Svetlana. Thank you for being such a long-term champion to kind of continue this work and being an ambassador for the economy for common good. There will actually be a follow-up meeting that we and WEAll and our partners are organizing related to the economy for common good and how we can move forward when it comes to the practical aspect that Svetlana's mentioned. So maybe, Stigita, you can share the time and the link that we organizing together with WEAll Sweden. But before we talk more about that or dive into the theoretical questions, I'm going to give the word to Pernilla now. So Pernilla, the floor is yours to talk a little bit about how you guys at Vägen Ut, the cooperative, has been working with the balance sheet, and you actually done it twice, and you were also one of these early champion companies in Sweden doing this process. And if you need to say anything in Swedish, and I can also help to translate. So maybe you can try to share your screen with the presentation, and we can see if it works.
Yes. I share it.
Yes, we can see it. Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I will not speak so fast as Christian did.
No worries, Pernilla.
Because my English is not, I don't use it so much nowadays as I did before. I'm trying to retire. But I've been working with Vägen Ut kooperativen social enterprises in Sweden for soon 25 years. And today I'm chairman of the board. And Vägen Cooperatives, we founded in 2002, and we are 14 social enterprises. We are work integrated social enterprises. In Swedish it's called arbetsintegrerande sociala företag, ASF. Vi har totalt en omsättning på, hade vi då 43 miljoner svenska kronor 21 och 130 anställda och ungefär 260, around 260 work training and in treatment. And of this, we are cooperatives, and we are owned by the people who are working in the cooperatives. So of these 130 employees, I think that today about 50 of them are the owners of the cooperative. And our core values are, it's from the beginning, it was very much about empowerment. From the beginning, we were working a lot with people who came from prison. Today, it's all kind of people who has been far away from the labor market for a long time. We are working in the cooperative way. In Swedish, it's called ekonomisk förening. And it's absolutely drug-free. Many of the people who are working and involved in our cooperatives are in NA, anonymous narcotics. And we have a work focus, and everyone is working 100% of their ability. And you have to have a motivation to change. And we have a child perspective. And we are working in a lot of different branches: cafe, conference, redesign, dog daycare, women's shelter, IT support, and so on. And the people who come to us for work training, and that is the people who also get employed, if it's possible, if we have the money to employ them. They've been away from the regular work market for a very long time. As you see, 51% has not worked regularly for more than 3 to 5 years. And many have 60% have a psychiatric diagnosis and so on. So it's, yeah, they are far from the labor market. And from the beginning, we have been we did say that we are green and white. We are not in the black market. And we are green because it was a lot of people who were very green, working with gardening and ecological food and so on. And 10 years ago, we did vi gjorde undersökning, investigation about our business development. And we were devised to more lift up our green sustainability. We were talking a lot about this social sustainability, but not so much about that we were very ecological sustainable. And then we talk about that, what to do, and then we met Emma Dahlväg. Her name then was Emma Pettersson. And she was one of the people who started ECG in Sweden. And we were talking, and then we heard about ECG, and we decided that because at that time we were about maybe 50, 60 people employed, and not everyone were so, or maybe not any one of us did really understand how sustainable we were. So we decided we have to work a little more with this, and we decided to start an utbildning together with Emma, and it was most of the people from all our cooperatives who were included, and the vad säger man, utbildning, education. The education, it was, I shall say that we are also a social franchise enterprise. So we have a head and a lot of franchises. But we decided to do this ECG, and we did it i en liksom som en utbildningssituation. And we went through all these different boxes. Mänsklig värdighet, solidaritet, ekologisk hållbarhet, social rättvisa, demokratiskt medbestämmande och transparens. Jag valde att ta den här, the Swedish, because I think it's easier for us to really understand it if we see the Swedish, and Christian already know what's standing there. And we did it for, I think we had 10 half days doing all this, and we were really discussing it, and it made us very aware about what we were doing. Sometimes we hadn't put the etiquette, the name of the things that we were doing, but when we did this, we really did understand what we were doing. Vi fick namn på det hela. But as you understand it, it really took a lot of time and a lot of working time. But it was very, very good to do it. And this one that I show here, it was the first revision, the first ECG-bokslut. We did it in 2015-2016. And as you see, I think that it was very good, 66.5 points. That was the result. You see it down there. And I also have this from, it was every third year you have to do a new bokslut. And here is the one that we were doing the next time. Then, of course, we couldn't do it so grundligt that we did the first time, and to really involve all the people. But yeah, we did it also another time, and you see it. I don't know, Christian, can you explain? I'm not really sure about the difference between this matrix and the other. Can you please explain it a little? This and this, it looks different, but
yes, if you show the first one, this is the usual certificate, or let's say the audit result that is conferred to the appliers, and the other one is just a different way to presented.
Yeah.
If you go to the second one, but usually we hand out only the first one.
Yeah.
And this is for let me see that.
I think the first one you showed, Pernilla, was it 4-point version, and this is 5.0. So when it says 4-point or 5-point, there are a few updates in the matrix and the questions, but the matrix remains the same, like the theme and so on. But there could be a few sub questions throughout the reporting that have been updated because we consistently are working to improve the matrix. So, but I think, like Christian said, I wouldn't be too worried about the graphical outlet of this one versus the first one. The majority of it, the core of it remains the same, even if there might be some few questions or so in the reporting process that we always try to improve based on feedback. Yeah.
Yes, and for us, it felt really good to see how good we were. we hadn't understood before how good we were. That was good. And here is also this 5 matrice, number 5. And here you can see the, vad heter det? Globala målen.
So the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah.
And that we have used a lot. And here it's good for then we really see that which goals we fulfill. Yes, and here is also another sort. And of course, it's important to show when you have a company or enterprise which goals you contribute to. And we don't need to talk so much about this. And it shows that we have business that makes a difference. And as a cooperative, we are in the cooperative movement, and when you are a cooperative, you shall work together with other companies and organizations, and you shall share your experience and kunskap. That we do. So,
thank you so much, Pernilla. That was amazing. It was really, really well done. And I think you made yourself very well understood. It was very, very well prepared. So don't worry about your English. I think
I could have said much more in Swedish, but
yeah, but it was excellent. Right. I think it was a very good introduction and everything we definitely needed for today. And also I'm really impressed about the work that you do as a business, bringing so much difference to so many people's lives, both with the people you work with, but also the services that you're providing. It clearly shows that you're really working for the economy for common good, in and out. It was very impressive. Actually, now we have some time for questions and answers. And actually, I want to see if there anyone. I have a few prepared, but I think it would be nice to see if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask questions. You see, I think we could be very quickly dive into this. But before we do that, Christian, do you have any comments on what Pernilla shared, or we can open up the floor for everyone else?
2 very short comments.
Yes.
The first one is really important. It is that to me, it is no surprise at all that you scored so well, because in ethical terms, cooperatives and organizations like yours are the true champions And you have a competitive advantage in sustainability reporting, to say so, vis-a-vis stock market companies. They don't even do it because they would score negatively. This is, but that's actually the goal of the exercise, to make visible what really matters and has true value, and to take protagonism from those who are successful today, but maybe are destroying the planet. And the second one is a very short but interesting one, because you showed the match of the SDGs and the values of the Common Good balance sheet. And in the last column, there were hardly any SDGs, and it's the kind of democracy. And the reason is because obviously SDGs are nice, and I'm glad that we have them, but they do not really focus on democracy, and that's telling. And you can make it visible, matching the SDGs with the Common Good balance sheet.
Thank you so much, Christian. Actually, this year is the year of cooperatives, if you didn't know that. And actually at ECOnGOOD, we organized a seminar in our ECOnGOOD conversation about cooperatives. So maybe, Stigita, you can help to share the link on the YouTube, because it's you can watch that seminar on YouTube to learn even more about cooperatives. And in that seminar, we have a cooperative from Uruguay who also done the balance sheet. So it might be interesting for you. But I see we have many hands here. I'm really glad to see it. David, please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. And I totally agree with Sophie and Christian about your organization, Pernilla. It's really important. My question is, maybe you said it, but maybe you could clarify. How do you work with the results? Do you set up goals in areas where you want to improve, or how do you use the results from the audit?
Pernilla, you can also answer in Swedish if you want to, and I can help you. Yeah.
Vi var så himla bra så att det jag kommer ihåg mest, det var att vi tittade på den här ekonomiska transparensen och vi använder ekobanken som bank. Alla våra kooperativ gör det, har gjort sedan start. Men vi har varit tvungna att använda Nordea för att ekobanken har inte varit en full bank. Man har inte haft alla tjänster. Så det var vi lite ledsna över då, för det drog ner poängen mycket, det där med Nordea. Men, så det har vi jobbat på och påverkat och sagt till ekobank att vi har tjatat på dem rätt mycket, så att nu är kan man ha i princip allt hos dem via nätet och internetbank och har alla tjänster utom möjligen kreditkort. Så ja.
I just want to clarify as well that interesting to hear, Pernilla, and I just want to clarify that I also agree that you have very good scores, but why I'm asking is a little bit like if I would ever meet an organization or be part of an organization where you want to use this, because I think a lot of organizations would have a lot lower scores than yours. That's why I'm asking, like, how could you work with it? Maybe, Christian, you could add in a little bit, like examples from where companies have got a results that they want to improve and how they use that in their planning.
Yeah, can I just translate for our international viewers that Pernilla just answered based on one of the results that they got in the matrix and in the balance sheet report related to finance and transparency, where they, for example, are using this more sustainable bank in Sweden called ecobanken, like an eco banking, but a lot of their services at that point was related to these big corporate banks and financial institutions, where Pernilla and Vägen, the cooperative, told their more sustainable bank that they want more services because that was something that impacted their score at that point. So just for the international audience to follow. But yeah, over to you, Christian. I think there are many people here, a few of us, that could probably answer how the results of the report can be used as a transformation tool. But maybe you have a few tips regarding David's question.
I do have some tips, but the tool itself gives you tips, at least the latest version, because after every aspect that you have worked through, and you saw on the surface, which is the matrix, we have 20 topics, common good topics, and then on the second layer, it is differentiated in approximately 50 aspects and also 30 negative aspects. And at the end of every aspect you describe and you report upon, the tool asks you, and do you want to define a goal for the next term? And this is how companies start thinking about where they want to improve in the next 2 years. And then there's a very important differentiation, because there are improvements that increase your competitiveness at current conditions in today's capitalistic market economy, and there are improvements in ethical terms that decrease your competitiveness, that lower your competitiveness. So you have to watch out. You cannot do everything, but you can choose to start with those measures and improvements that at least do not harm your company. And one very frequent example is to improve working conditions, to involve collaborators more closely in decisions to take care of the working conditions and environment, and to look at meaning and satisfaction in work. These are just some examples. And then, of course, you can progress until transforming the property of a company into a foundation, for instance, where at least those employees that are ready and up for it take also responsibility and risk of the company. There is a purpose property construction in Germany, but spreading internationally. And some companies even consider to turn into a cooperative. This is one of the highest levels of organizational change that has happened in some occasions. But our recommendation is that this is a marathon. This is a long-term journey. And please don't over-challenge yourself, but work on several goals and several aspects each year, and then you will improve gradually, but sustainably.
Thank you, Christian. Hanna, please ask your question.
Yes, thank you, Pernilla, for an interesting show. And I think this is amazing, your big company, of this cooperative company. And I wonder, are you helping other municipalities in Sweden to create these kinds of great networks that you have established in your work? Are you like a mentor for other municipalities, kommuner, and groups in Sweden, or is this unique for being Swedish? Du kan svara på svenska om du vill.
Vi finns ju i Göteborg och i Mölndal och i Sundsvall. Och vi har också haft kooperativ i Örebro och uppe i Gävleborg.
Vad hette det i Örebro?
Villa Susanne.
Jaha, jag bor i Örebro. Aha, okej. Okay. Ja.
Men det är rätt många år sedan nu. Ja, vi hade uppe i Östersund också, men det har varit ganska tufft för arbetsintegrerande sociala företag de sista åren och efter pandemin och sådär, och arbetsförmedlingen och deras regler. Men visst gör vi det. Det är franchising, social franchising. Och social är att vi är mera gemenskap och socialt. Så att det är bara att kontakta om man vill. Och det är ofta kommuner och så som kontaktar oss, men det vi säger då, om det är en kommun, det är att ni som kommun kan inte starta, utan det måste vara några
underifrån eller liksom.
Ja.
Ja. Vad intressant. Tack.
So thank you so much, Hanna, for your question, and thank you, Pernilla, for your answer. For the international view, as Pernilla just answered, that they are currently operating in 3 different cities, but they are also like other versions in other towns. But they do get contacted by municipalities who want to amplify this work. But then also Pernilla always answered that you need to have the people who starts the cooperative. It needs to be owned by the people and run by the people. But I agree with Hanna's questions. I feel like the company that you have in the cooperative is it's a role model for how things could work in the rest part of the world. So I hope it spreads, and I'm glad to hear that you are positive to when people reach out or ask questions. We have more questions. Robert, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I have a question about the evolution of the matrix. I noticed that there are numbers of different versions that have been mentioned. And how do you decide to make changes in the matrix? What is the governance of the matrix, and what, if any, is the relationship of that governance to sovereign democracy?
You want to answer, Christian, or should I go? You can go.
As you like. Maybe as I'm the originator of the matrix,
you start.
I start, and you can add anything you deem helpful. Well, we started in 2010 with the movement, and we just reached out for sustainable companies in Austria and asked who wanted to do this new innovative tool, and it was 70 companies, and then 4 persons gathered to develop version 1.0. And then from every version to the next one, to 2, 3, 4, 4.1, and 5, the matrix development team grew until we became some 15 stable members of the matrix development team. And then each version that was produced under the inclusion of feedback from everywhere. Feedback from appliers, feedback from our movement, feedback from the general public. The next version was developed, and when it was finished, it was submitted to the highest assembly of our movement for approval. Said that, our vision was from the very beginning that one day this tool should not be ours any longer. One day this should be the legal tool decided by the parliament or by the sovereign citizens of a country. We are not there. In the European Union, we have now this corporate sustainability reporting directive and the European sustainability reporting standards, which apply for big corporations. And to be honest, although we were one of those who demanded this legal instrument, we are now not fully happy with the outcome because it's too big and the development process was not very participatory. I could tell a lot about this, but I would say we're still in the beginnings, and there is still hope that we improve this instrument to keep it slim enough to engage companies, to do it voluntarily or at least with fun. But on the other hand, to make it more effective, because the European legal instrument has no evaluation of the result. And as a consequence, there is no linkage of positive and negative incentives. And it's not a game changer as a consequence. So I think this is only the beginning of this story and not its end.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Maybe I can just quickly add also, Robert, that as Christian said, this work has really been developed by volunteers. It's really been a bottom up by people who's been engaged from the beginning. And many of the people who's been a part of this matrix developing has been consultants themselves. So they hear feedback, they get feedback from the companies, and they want to make it easier for them. The last year, like we've been trying to organize the matrix development at an international federation level. So we've been having like funds and people that we can finally recruit, not only having volunteers and these kind of progress to kind of support and professionalize it. Because to be honest, there's been a lot of voluntary hours engaged. and we wanted to have some funds to be able to support their work. But we're still exploring, it's still work in progress. And they have been having several feedback rounds with surveys, inviting for meetings, so on. So both the users, the consultants, and the companies are really at the center. But I would say there are sometimes conflicting demands, because some people would like the balance sheet to be closer to the European standards that Christian talked about, to make the reporting very easy for companies. And others are not that big as companies and might not necessarily need sustainability standards. So there's always different feedback and different processes to consider. But I can see Bridget, she's also quite an expert in the matrix development. So the floor is yours. Maybe you can introduce yourself, Bridget, because you're quite been a part of the ECOnGOOD family for some time as well.
Thank you, Sophie, and thank you, Christian, and all of you who've presented these great examples. I'm Bridget. I'm based in London, and I raised my hand because I wanted to express solidarity with Svetlana, because we set up the ECG UK Association in 2017, and I had a very similar story to you. There was strong interest, very passionate people, very passionate about ECG, but very few people. And so I kind of really feel for you and with you, and honor, your commitment. And also, I think it sometimes can be slow, but it's deep. That's what I'm kind of realizing, is that I've made contact with people who were business members in the UK, and they pursued different. They pursued their own carbon footprint tool. This was a company of accountants. They were called triple bottom line accountants. But they always said ECG is our North Star. That's the kind of the goal. And they would advise, if their clients did this carbon footprinting tool, they would say, well, the next thing to do is the balance sheet. And I got in touch with her recently, and she said, it's the best things that we do are from ECG. And I have the matrix on my wall in the office and at home. And of all the people who were involved with ECG UK, or we were in touch with, it burns very strongly and deeply. And so I just wanted to express that. So I was a founder member of setting up the UK Association, and then I became a member of the international management team together with Christian and Sophie, and for 6 years. And I'm now kind of a spokesperson for the movement. And it's lovely to be back in the family on an event like this. And I wish you all well with your journeys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you for sharing that. We have a few more minutes, so I would really want Jan and Malin to be able to ask their questions before we wrap up this session. So if Jan and Malin, if you can have quick and short questions and quick and short answers, I'm sure we can handle both of them before we wrap up.
Super. I'm not sure if my question is that quick, but it's more like, I'm interested if you can tell me a little bit more, Christian, about how do you see what kind of relationships do you see between the donut economy and the economy for the common good? That's my question, and the follow-up is if you see if they represent different ways of rethinking the economy, or how do they complement each other? And also, if you could just briefly say if you think that one or another of them is better for if I am branding or consulting on a smaller company or smaller corporation, a big one, or a municipality. And also that you mentioned Stockholm Resilience Center. It would be interesting to hear if you have some kind of collaboration between you. You can choose whatever you want to answer, because it's, as Sophie said, it's a shorter time.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes, so you get
Oh.
30 seconds, Christian, so we can.
No formal connection to Stockholm Resilience, although I was there when in one of my travels to Sweden, but we've referred to the planetary boundaries almost on a mandatory level. Donut and Economy for the Common Good have extreme overlap. I know Kate Raver personally. We met several times, and we drafted a 2-pager as a comparative overview together, which we can send to you. And there is nothing that contradicts each other. Kate was the one who proposed that if we want to distinguish it, we could say that the donut is rather a concept of economic science, and ECG model is rather a concept of political economy and practice. And as a consequence, the tool of ours for companies is more easily to handle and more easily to apply than the donut economics business model, which also exists, has been developed, but it's not a scoring tool, and it's not even a sustainability reporting tool. Maybe that's the only difference that we can identify at this moment. But we are collaborating on many levels, and we consider us as friends.
Great, thank you.
The paper Christian talked about will shortly be on our website and on us and ECONGOOD's social media channels. So please stay updated, because it's really, like Christian said, a comparison analysis, and it will give you more detailed answers. So check out for that one when it's being published. So Malin, please go ahead.
Yeah, maybe my question not so small either, but you will answer what you will have time for. I'm more curious about like the political response from politicians and political parties, because the vision is big and like need political implementation to go further. And I'm curious about like particularly in this, like how they've been like using it in procurement processes. And I used to quickly research and that there has been used. And I wonder if you can tell something more about that. That would, yeah, interesting.
Yes, sure. Well, on the one hand, we have a positive response from politicians from almost all parties, although the strongest response is from green, left-wing, and progressive parties, and there is no support from the ultra right-wing parties. But interestingly, at the base of the population in the smaller municipalities, we have quite some conservative municipalities engaging with our instruments, because they orient themselves towards values, towards long-lasting, timeless values, and this is an interesting experience. As for public procurement, many municipalities have started 5 years and sometimes even 10 years ago to source with ethical criteria. And there was a revision of the Public Procurement Directive of the European Union, which allows, since a couple of years, to consider also social and ecological criteria in public procurement. This should be developed further, in the meaning that these criteria have to be considered and are not only allowed to be considered in the next revision of the Public Procurement Directive. And many municipalities use the balance sheet for the public procurement decisions, because the supply chain is the first stakeholder line, and it's not only the direct suppliers but the whole chain. So it's helpful, and that's what they feed back to us. They start scanning their supply chains according to these values. For some specific aspects, they already have some instruments in place, like, for instance, for the carbon footprint, which is a very prominent aspect. But for many other aspects, especially solidarity in the supply chain, it actually puts back on its feet, or corrects the best bidder principle, which means that the bidder who offers the lowest price gets the contract, but this very often is is against nature, is against society, is against humanistic values. And this is something that they start to reflect deeply, as Bridget has said twice. Thanks, Bridget, for contributing and being with us. So I think it's what they feedback, it's worth dedicating to the topics, values, and goals of the matrix. It's an added value to the instruments already set in place.
Thank you so much, Christian. I see we're running out of time, and I have to say I'm not sure, Estrita, with the registration of the Zoom link, can we email people? I'm thinking of GDPR perspective. Am I saying the right, Civilis?
Yeah, since they registered for the event, we can send out a follow-up about the event, so that part
Yes.
should be okay, and we can share with you all the links and information that was shared in the chat and in the presentations today.
Yes, and everyone who was called Emily, when you checked in, you might not be registered on that Zoom link. So maybe, Jonathan, you can support that the people get that registered through your school get the same follow-up email, because I think if you haven't registered and you got the link, you won't get the email. So maybe, Jonathan, if you can share it, so anyone who's called Emily will get it from Färnebo Folkhögskola. Please book the date in your calendar for the next session, because I think in that one we can go in a little bit more to the practicality of like re-establishing ECOnGOOD, economy for ECOnGOOD in Sweden, and how we can do that together with WEAll Sweden. And those of you who would like to stay engaged or involved and kind of learn more about this work and how you can maybe use the balance sheet in Sweden and all that kind of questions will happen on the date that is set in the chat. So save it in your calendars, copy paste the Zoom link, and we can probably include this information in that follow-up meeting as well. And please feel free to share with people in your network if they would be interested to maybe be a part of the economy for common good in Sweden. That will be awesome. I have to say a big thank you both to Emily and WEAll Sweden and Jonathan, Färnebo Folkhögskola, for they were actually the one reaching out to ECOnGOOD for initiating this, for organizing this. Thank you so much, Christian, for taking your precious time. We all know how busy you are, how many requests you have. And I can share that Christian said when I said Sweden, you had very good memories and were very enthusiastic. So maybe some point in the future we can organize a revisit for you to Sweden, hopefully. And thank you so much, Pernilla, for sharing your incredible work that you're doing and how you apply the Common Good balance sheet, and for the big impact you're having in Sweden. It's great to have. We need these good examples, I feel, in times like this. So thank you everyone for being here, and I hope to see you in the next meeting, and we'll include all the links so you get the newsletters and all the updates. So thank you so much everyone for being here.